Today I'm delighted to welcome two guests to the program. I have Kaela Sales, who is from the Public Health Unit, Grey Bruce, and also I have to get this right now, Grey Bruce OPP, Constable Adam Balanger, who are joining us today to talk about a variety of things related to Safe Kids Week, which is all about safety in bicycling, water safety, boating. So we've got lots of information to share with our viewing audience today about safety. Before we begin with the information, I'm wondering if you'd each like to just introduce yourselves a little bit more than your name and title, and then we'll take it away with Kids Safety Week. Who wants to go first?
I guess I can go first, Carol. My name is Kaela Sales. I'm a health promoter with the Grey Bruce Health Unit. I've been fortunate enough to work here for the past year and a half, and I'm really excited to, share some information today about Safe Kids Week, and as we get into the warmer weather, going through some of our upcoming awareness days and give you some tips on being safe all summer long.
Excellent.
Very good. My name is Adam Balanger. Again, I'm a constable with the Grey Bruce OPP detachment, and I've been a police officer for over 22 years. So same location, area is beautiful area we have here, but we need to be safe while we enjoy it. So
welcome to both of you. Thank you for being on the program. And I just popped outside just before I sat down to tape today. We couldn't be talking at a better time. It is so warm and sunny out, so absolutely the best time to be taping this program about safety. So tell me a little bit, when is Safe Kids Week?
So Safe Kids Week runs from May 30th to June 5th. It's an annual awareness campaign that's designed by Parachute. They've been running this campaign for approximately the last 10 years, but Safe Kids Week has ran across Canada since 1998. So we're looking at 25 years or so there. Each year there's a different theme surrounding safety. It brings attention to predictable and preventable injuries in Canada in children. And the theme this year is safe and active transportation.
So who picks the theme? Who gets to choose the topic?
I believe it's just Parachute that chooses that. Must be, they just rotate through different themes each year. In the past, they've had, safe water, cycling safety. This year, they're doing that safe and active transportation.
So tell me what active transportation really means.
Yeah, so active transportation is using your own power to get from one place to another. So that would include walking, running, jogging, biking, skateboarding, rollerblading, any sort of non-mechanic way of getting from one place to another.
So something without an engine, kind of.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Person powered, not engine powered.
Yes.
Great. So obviously we're interested in how communities can improve the safety on roadways for cyclists and pedestrians. Have there been more injuries? And I'm not sure who can answer that, but are we seeing a change in injuries with cyclists or pedestrians on our highways?
I could talk about a few things. There's not necessarily been an increase. We are seeing an increase in activity of people, especially over the last couple of years with the pandemic. If you were to walk into a bicycle shop 2 years ago and buy a bicycle, you'd be okay to do that. If you walk into a bicycle shop today and attempt to buy a bicycle that you want, like the one you want to pick, you might be left with a problem. There's been some bikes have been flying off the shelf, and so people have been purchasing different sporting equipment, but bicycles specifically to increase activity of their lives. So not that we've seen an increase of injury, but that we want to keep it so that those who are getting out on their bikes, maybe the more now than before, are all well informed and are safe doing it.
So tell me a little bit more about what you would say to someone who went into a bike shop to purchase a bike, about what happens as soon as they take that bike outdoors. What sorts of things and advice would you give people? Let's say I've not been.
First of all, you want to buy a bike that fits you. The proper fitting bike is really important, because you'll be able to function that bike. You'll be able to ride it comfortably, but you'll also be able to function it safely. So you'll be able to use the brakes. You'll be able to put your foot down when you need to. And then secondly, you're going to need a helmet for that bike, because that's very important. We never plan to fall. And so we want to make sure we take precautions in the event that we do fall. So we wear a helmet. And so you take that bike out. Now you got to make sure that you would do what we call the ABC checks. And so you're looking for air in the tires when you take your bike out. Is there sufficient air in the tires? And then you're looking at things like your brakes. Do your brakes function? Do they work? And so there's some testing that you can do for that. You want to make sure your bars are tight, because if your bar turns one way and your bike goes the other way, that's not a good day. And then you're looking at things like your chain and your crank. You want to make sure your chain is got a lot of shininess to it, and it's not rusted, and that your crank is functioning properly. It's the motor that turns or moves your bike. And if you do that kind of things, then that will prepare you for going out and riding. And then we can talk about some safety things out on the road as well.
Yeah. So if I could just take us back to the helmet issue. Are there laws regarding helmet wear for bicyclists?
Yes, absolutely, there is. You have got to make sure that you have a helmet on if you're under the age of 18. And that's the law. And so it's something that, we should all exemplify. I mean, I am well over that age, and I wear my helmet all the time. Again, I don't know when I'm going to fall. Nobody plans to fall. And so we want to wear our helmets. They make helmets now very comfortable. They make them adjustable. And so wearing a helmet is not an inconvenience. And again, it's one more safety measure in the event if I do fall.
So will any helmet work for bicyclists? So if we have someone who plays hockey and they have a hockey helmet, not that they would want to wear it when they're biking, but I mean, is there a special bike helmet that's different than other types of equipment and helmets?
Yeah, your helmet for a bicycle is manufactured for that purpose. It has protection points, and the way it's fitted is for if you were to fall from a bicycle, and different from if you were in some sort of collision involved on ice. And so they make specific helmets for the purposes, and there's standards. There's a safety standard to that manufacturing. And so, things like we use, and Parachute Canada actually is a huge partner for this. They use the 2v1 rule. So you're looking at 2 fingers above the bridge of the top of your nose to the top of the helmet. And then you're looking at V. So you want to have the straps that come down the side, make a V under your ear. And then you're looking at a one finger gap underneath the chin.
And that's helpful to know. I wasn't aware of that. So that's really helpful to know. I have a question. I've got lots of questions, but most of them you provided me, so thank you very much. I know the health unit is really advocating for active lifestyles, and I know that in many communities now, the initiatives are definitely to try and reduce our carbon footprint by becoming more active, walking or biking. So are you anticipating, not just through COVID when people were really, really keen to just get outside anywhere safely, are you anticipating more and more people will be out and about as they try to reduce their carbon footprint?
Certainly. And, with rising gas prices as well, I'm sure there'll be more and more people wanting to get out, getting active, maybe reintroducing some physical activity that they lost during COVID. And, certainly as we get into the warmer months, we'll see more and more people out and about. That's a little bit harder in the winter time. You don't feel like getting out and about as much when your fingers and toes are frozen. So Yeah, certainly we anticipate seeing that more and more often going forward in the future. And hopefully we don't see these high gas prices for so long, but it certainly is a little bit of an incentive for us to use those other modes of transportation.
For sure. So we've talked about safety for the individual who is going to be using a bike. What would you say to drivers around what they need to be aware of when there are bicyclists around? What sort of practical advice? What do we, when we're behind the wheel of a car, what do we need to be aware of so we keep bicyclists safe?
Yeah, something that's really important when it comes to cyclists and any road user really is predictability. And so if you are predictable in what you're doing when you're operating your vehicle or operating any vehicle on a roadway, then other drivers will know what to expect from you. And so with regards to cyclists, they are to move to the right as far as possible when they're being passed by a vehicle. And so, but the obligation for that vehicle and under law is that they have to give at minimum a 1 meter distance when passing. And that goes right from the tip of your mirror to the cyclist, the farthest point of that cyclist, which would probably be their handlebars. And so that is the minimum that needs to be happening. And we're asking the motorists that, they be really aware of cyclists out on the road. It is warmer weather now, and it wasn't happening like Kaela said earlier with the colder weather. But people are out there on the roads now. And so you got to really be aware, just like you're looking for pedestrians, you're looking for cyclists. And so slow down when you're passing a cyclist, give them at least a meter when passing, and be really purposeful in the sense of signaling and letting people know where you're moving. We don't want to see happen, and we see this way too many times, is people squeezing by when you would have an oncoming traffic, and then the bike would be there, and then you essentially have 3 vehicles at one point going through the same area. And so what we want the drivers to do is to wait for that oncoming vehicle to pass, and then you can make your pass around the cyclist. Squeezing through is often the cause that causes collisions when you're on making passes. And then we see a lot of issues at intersections as well. Intersections are the highest collision location for cyclists, and that involves vehicles turning left, vehicles turning right, and or not stopping at stop signs. And so there's an obligation all around for cyclists and for drivers to do the right thing at the intersection and make again, be predictable so people know what you're going to do.
What advice would you give? Often I've seen where accidents happen when drivers have parked and they open their door and a cyclist is coming up beside them. Are there any sort of helpful hints that you can give to drivers to just help them pause before they open that door?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously we're talking about dooring. If you open up your door and you're on a cyclist, it's called dooring, and so it's very painful. It never turns out well for either. I mean, there's damage to vehicle, there's damage to rider, and everything else, right? And so what we would ask that is when you do is to make sure you look back. So if you make a habit of reaching over with your, the opposite arm, so it would be your right arm. If you reach over your right arm, you're going to have to maneuver your body in such a way that you'll have to look before you open that door, instead of just popping the door and pushing it open. And then the cyclist has an obligation as well, right, with regards to avoiding these things, because when these things happen, nobody wins. And so the cyclist can be, in a position of defense in the sense of moving a meter away from a parked car. And that's also in line with moving away from a curb or a break in the road or anything like that. They can move that meter and have that space to go around that vehicle. So typically the door will miss you if by chance somebody was in that vehicle.
So I have a couple more questions about bikes, and then we're going to move to water and boat safety, if that's all right. You had mentioned about bike rodeos and something called Anything But a Car Day. So who'd like to explain a bit about that?
Yeah, I can talk about Anything But a Car Day. So essentially that's a school or an organization can set up a day where their staff, students bring anything but a car. So they can walk to school, bike to school, any sort of active transportation. And it's just a great way to offer like a safe, fun, healthy way to school, way to work.
Neat. Yep. And the rodeos. Who runs the rodeos, the bike rodeos? I think of rodeo in a very different way than I do with bikes. So what's a bike rodeo?
So bike rodeos are typically run by community members and community groups, and also probably your local police service. And so bike rodeo exists to really put cyclists, young cyclists typically, through a course that would show them, it exemplifies what we need to do at different locations like intersections. It also allows them to show maybe the skill level that they have from riding their bike. And then there's typically an opportunity for them to receive a reward or a gift of some sort for their efforts. And yeah, they've been around for many years, and a lot of community groups and, like I said, a lot of police services are using them. And there's other options out there as well. There's other bicycle safety programs that include other things, and so there's a lot of them out there. Bike rodeos in general, those are the ones that you'll see mostly in your communities these days. So,
and what is a bicycle rodeo checklist? Is that like a report card?
It basically is for your day, right? It says my bike works well. It says I know what I'm doing at these different course settings, and when you accomplish those things, you get a check off, and then again, when you're done there, you get to take that in, and you get a reward or a prize for your efforts that day. And it's an encouragement to the young people. It's an encouragement for them to train up before they come to the rodeo, but also learn things from the rodeo to take away from them, to be safe out there on the roads, or just safe on a bicycle in general.
Excellent. So let's talk about water and boating safety. So we know that obviously there are risks associated with water. Maybe you can just describe a little bit of what those risks are, and of course, what we can do to keep ourselves safe.
I can go through some of those. So of course, water conditions can be unpredictable. And I think that's one of the main things that we want to make sure people are aware of before they go out. So many beaches in our area don't have lifeguards at them. So it really is your responsibility when you're going to the beach or lake, river, wherever you're going. You need to know where it is safe to swim. So if you're seeing warning signs that say do not swim here, of course, that's not a good spot to go swimming. If there's been recent heavy rainfall in the last 24 or 48 hours, if the water's cloudy, things like that could mean that the water isn't safe. It's got high levels of bacteria. So those are just some things that you need to look for when you're going to visit any body of water.
Now, not only do we have Safe Kids Week coming up, but we also have Safe Boating Awareness Week. So the dates of those, and what exactly are the 5 messages for and that's not a test.
Yeah, so Safe Boating Awareness Week is May 21st to the 27th, so just coming up in a week or so there. Their messages this year are wear your life jacket, be boat sober, take a boating course, be prepared, you and your vessel, and then be cold water safe.
Yeah. So a couple of questions. People will often drink when they're out and about. It's recreational. What's the penalty for people? And we know about you shouldn't drink and drive, but you shouldn't drink and boat either. What sort of penalties, and who enforces that kind of penalty?
Well, what you're talking about is impaired driving. When you talk about impaired driving, you're talking about a vessel, you're talking about aircraft, you're talking about a car. And so it's a criminal code offense in the sense that you will be charged criminally The OPP is the service that patrols the waters in Ontario. And so if you were on Lake Huron, for example, then the OPP has vessels that are out there patrolling, looking for sober operation of vessels. And it's, obviously any kind of consumption impairs your judgment. And so we would say that, boating sober is the only way to go, and not to consume alcohol at any quantity, and take the guesswork out of that. One of the things I did want to comment about the boat safety is it's important that if you haven't been on a boat for a while to take a boating course, because there is so many different things that come up in that course that really kind of share how you can operate your boat in a safe manner, where you need to be in a particular closed-in area, like going up a river, or just some of the safety measures that you need in place on your vessel in order to operate it, because those are the calls we respond to. And and then the second part of that would be the cold water. Georgian Bay has cold water all year round. It never gets warm enough to say, oh, this is a good, this is good temperature. So people, what we run into so many times is that people go out, they may feel really good about what the vessel they're on right at the time, but then something happens and they get into the water, and it doesn't take very long for that cold water to remove the heat from your body. And once that happens, you'll go into hypothermia, and your functioning will not happen like you think it will. And then you become in a state of distress. And if we can't get you fast enough, or somebody else can't be there to help you, unfortunately, it's going to be a bad outcome. So just plan ahead. And if you are going to be going, make sure you tell somebody where you're going and when you'll be expecting to get back. And, travel together if you can, like have other people with you.
A couple of questions about the boating course. Do I have to own a boat and go somewhere to take the course? Can it be online? How do I find out about a boating course?
Boating courses, online. You can take it. It just I don't know the website. I'm sorry at this time, but if you look up boating course Ontario, I'm sure you'll be able to get to that. Yeah. And it doesn't take a lot of time and effort. It just takes the time, right? And we just want people to do that, because again, if you haven't been on a boat, if it's been a while since you were younger, and now you've purchased a boat, mm-hmm. and that is another thing that is happening. A lot of boats are going. People are buying boats because they're not traveling as much, mm-hmm. and so we want to encourage people to take the boating course. Just to refresh themselves. And they do need an operator's card anyways when they're out there. They need a boating license to have that vessel out there. And so that's important, obviously, for that point.
So we've talked about certainly taking the course and not consuming alcohol or any other form of recreational activities to make sure that you're safe in the operation of the boat. What other things for safety should people have or use when they're going boating?
I can start with a little checklist if you want to kind of round us off there, Constable. But of course, ensuring you have life jackets, and not just having them on board, actually having them on your person. Having, of course, a competent operator, as we mentioned, someone who's familiar with all the rules of the water, ensuring you've checked the forecast, and having a sail plan. So kind of arranging with anyone who's a part of your group, the time of your arrival, when you're going to depart, things like that, just in case something were to happen. And people know when you're expected to be back. If you're not back by that time, they know to reach out to either yourselves or emergency services.
Yeah. So certainly some of the things that you've also indicated, the compass, which I wouldn't have thought of, but it's a really good idea. Fuel. Can you carry extra fuel on deck?
If you are with regards to the trip, the most important part is to plan out your trip the way you I'm trying to think of the best answer for you on this one. You can carry fuel on, extra fuel, but it has to be stored in such a way that it's safe, right? So that's an important part. And so, but my recommendation with regards to extra fuel is make sure you plan your day, because what happens if you're using extra fuel, you probably haven't planned out the daylight time. And so if you get into dark, then you're talking about lighting and everything else that you have to have for your vessel. And then you've got, obligations about having your lights on and then running with lights, and then visibility at night of hazards in the water is difficult. So I would say plan your day out in the daylight. And typically a vessel would need extra fuel if you were operating during the daylight, unless you're doing a really lengthy all-out run kind of thing. So, but just it's safe fuel storage is probably the best way to go.
So let's take us from the water to the beach. And what are some safety bits of information that you would like to give both parents, but also if there's children who are watching the program, what advice would you give?
Yeah, I think just remembering sun safety is key. Not just the water safety, but also, ensuring you've checked the UV index, you've brought the proper supplies, you've got your sunscreen, your hats, drinking water, sunglasses, if you need life jackets, if you're going to be going in any deeper waters, things like that. And especially children, you want to make sure they're hydrated. Small children especially, you want to make sure they're not in direct sunlight for very long, because they might start to feel ill. And those signs of dehydration or sunstroke can come on quite quickly.
So in our water, in our area, there are sometimes on the surface calm and underneath currents. What advice would you give people who are caught by the currents? And I think there's special terms for that. We've got a minute left in the show, so it's quick advice.
Typically, if you find yourself in a situation where you're feeling that effect of the pull out, like the undertow, then you want to just let it go, and you're going to just be calm. Being in the water is about being calm. If you expend your energy and you start to try and breathe, then you're going to take in water. So hold your breath, be calm, and it's going to let you go very quickly. You just have to be calm about it. So the biggest issue is swim within your ability, and don't go there if you don't know. Excellent.
Our time is up. It's gone so quickly. I want to thank both of you very much for being on the program. Thank you. And thank you to our viewing audience for joining us today. To learn more about programs, resources, services, and safety in our community, take care and stay safe. Thank you.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Hi, I'm Thomas Chase, a right wing with the Owens Attack. Go behind the scenes with your favorite team on Attack Rap every Tuesday on Rogers TV.